Hello! So today we're taking a look at the Horizon Boeing 787-900 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So this is a free download from FlightSim.2 and it's the 787-900. So as you can see the model has changed, it's quite a bit bigger. But this is apparently one of the most popular versions of the 787 that's in service, and the developers on the Horizon project have improved it beyond what the Asobo has already done and added quite an amount of functionality apparently inside the avionics systems. So let's go and jump inside the airplane. It's a bit different to other aircraft we've seen recently because it has the head-up display and various other toys around the cockpit. So let's go and try out our startup procedures and see how well they work with it. So first thing we do is press Control and 8. So I have updated my written procedure that I wrote for the Asobo 787. So I've corrected some of the control mappings and we'll see if it still works. So the electrical section, first column at the bottom, we're going to go and turn the battery on to begin with, and it lights up slowly. And then we're going to turn the external powers on if they're available. They are not, which is absolutely fine. So IRS section, we're going to turn both left and right systems to on. Then we're going to go over to the APU on the electrical section, and we're going to turn the knob around to start. It will fall back to on its own, and we start the auxiliary power unit up. Then we go to the emergency lights, which is up here, and we set it to armed, and then we cage it, or guarded as the correct terminology is, and then we press Control and 3 and go down to the flight management computer. First thing we do is position initialization, then we pick up the GPS position and we drop it into the inertial position there. We put in our reference airport, so we are at Stansted, so EGSS, and it goes into the scratch pad. Then we can drop that into the reference airport, and then we can go onto the route page and we can say we're going from Stansted over to a destination will be Edinburgh. So this is a route I've used in lots of other demos. It's a nice easy route to program in. The runway we're leaving Stansted on will be runway 22. We're going to make ourselves a flight number up, so ABC 123. So obviously I'm making these numbers up as I go along. In the real world you'd be reading this from an operational flight plan. So we'll activate those changes and execute them. Then if we were putting a route in going through airways, we could go into the route page and do that. We're not going to today, we're just going to do a very direct route. So we go to departure arrival. So we're going to leave Stansted on the BKY5R standard instrument departure, so we'll execute that. Go back to the index and we'll immediately program in our arrival into Edinburgh. So runway 24 and the AGP E1E. Standard terminal arrival route, so that's that done. So then if we go into the legs page, we can see our route here, we can skip through it, and we can see there's a discontinuity between the end of the standard instrument departure and the beginning of the start. So we can put a waypoint in there, for example. So as the Trent VOR, for example, we could drop in, and it's going to be the one at 53 degrees, so we'll select that one. So if we go next page again, we can see that's pushed the discontinuity down, so we'll close that gap up and execute that. And we'll go next page, and you can see here, if we have a quick look, we've got a tartan is the end of the star, and then the approach onto the runway begins on CI124, so we can safely close that one up. He says, famous last words. I think the sim has just frozen. There we go, it's just unlocked itself. CI124. Or CI24, sorry, and then execute that. Then you've got vectors, we'll leave that there. So that means if we were to do a go around, we would obviously be on vectors immediately from the control tower. Okay, so let's go then and have a look at the performance data. So if we go and look at the route page, at the bottom right, it leads on to performance initialization, so we can click that. And it goes to perf init, and we can put in our cruise altitude for the route. So let's go and put 25,000 or flight level 250. Cost index 100. Again, you would get this off of your operational flight plan. So this is the formula that calculates how aggressively the aircraft can accelerate or climb. Okay, then we've got 0 fuel weight, so we can just click on that and it will calculate it for us. We can put in our reserves, so say we put in 5, it's in thousands of pounds, or kilograms, depending on how you've got the airplane set up. Execute that change, and if we go next page, in here, this doesn't have a next page, so we go thrust limit. And this is your climb profile. We'll leave it as default. Go to takeoff. We're going to put in 5 degrees of flap, which then gives us our rotate speeds for the runway. And then we don't have to put thrust in because it's hyphens for the temperature, but we can put center of gravity in, and it will calculate it for us. So at this point it says FMC pre-flight is complete, which is absolutely fine. So then we can go, and we've already done the legs, so that's us done. So what's next on our list? We press Control and 8 to go overhead. We are looking for the second column. We're going to go and put the FD door power on. Then the window heat is here, and we're going to go and turn the primary window heaters on. Then back down to Control 7, passenger signs section, seatbelts to auto. So passenger signs, here we go, seatbelts go to auto. Anti-ice section, which is over here, we're going to put the engine anti-ice to auto and the wing anti-ice to auto. External lights, we're going to go and turn the nav lights to on, and then press Control and 8 to go further overhead. Air conditioning section, 4th column over here. We're going to turn the packs to auto. Then on the master control panel, press Control and 2 to get down to it. We're going to go and turn the flight directors on. We're going to select the heading to match the runway. Oops, I've just missed the control with the mouse. So we want 222 degrees to match the runway at Stansted that we are taking off from. Then we are going to pre-select LNAV and VNAV as appropriate. And then we can calibrate the altimeters. We can arm the auto throttles. We can press Control 2. Set the auto brake to rejected takeoff, that's down here. And then we refer to this screen here and we move the trim for the elevators into the middle of the green box, which gives us an equilibrium as we accelerate along the runway. Okay, so then go back overhead, Control 7. On the hydraulic section, we want to set both C1 and C2 to auto, and the L-ELEC and R-ELEC to auto, or left and right electricity. Then fuel section, 3rd column up here, I'm going to go and turn on the pumps. External lights, we're going to go and put the beacon light on there. We're about to start the engines. So then Control 5, we're going to put the transponder to XPDR, or transponder. And then it's starting engines now. So Control and 8, we've got the starters over here. So the right engine first goes to start. And we go and look down and we can see the N2 number is coming up. When it gets to 20, we will advance the fuel control lever over here to run. So we're just waiting. It's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and advance the lever, and it goes into auto start. So when we first start the engine, it uses compressed air from the APU to spin the engine up. When we advance the fuel control lever, we are injecting fuel and igniting it. So you will see overhead that start lever will go back to norm all on its own. Give it a few seconds. There it goes. So now we can do engine number 1. So in this exactly the same way, the N2 number is accelerating, so that's the gas turbine that's being spun up by the compressed air. And as soon as it gets to 20% of its 100% being nominal, we will advance the fuel control lever again. So there we go, fuel control goes forwards. So you'll see then the fuel comes in and ignites, the exhaust gas temperature will suddenly increase. There it goes. The N1 is the turbofan speed, so that's the big fan on the front of the engine. So that starts accelerating. You've got fuel flow down here, we've got oil pressure, oil temperature, oil quantity. It's very cool. Very fully featured. Okay, so engines are running. So we go overhead, and we can turn the APU to off because the power is switched over automatically to the engines once they're running. The external lights, we can go and turn the taxi light to on, so they're further down here. So taxi goes to on. One of my friends has written a really nice document actually about the sequence of turning lights on and off on your approach and departure from the runway. It's really interesting. I'll try and cover it in a video soon. So I'm only like scratching the surface of it in this demonstration of starting the airplane up today, so I'm not following it very closely. So control 7 gives us the overhead, the external light section, strobe goes to on. Oh, we need to go and taxi. So I have not done a pushback because I'm parked out here away from the gate anyway. So we'll come off the parking brake, we'll put the flaps to 5 degrees, we'll advance the throttles gently, and we can start turning the aeroplane. So it's all looking good so far. So at the moment it's saying there's TCAS is not on and there's a cabin temperature issue, but that will correct itself. We haven't put the packs on yet. Or I don't think we did we? Packs are on auto. So that will correct itself. Or it should correct itself. Let's have a look at this aeroplane from outside. It's very big, isn't it? It's only when you see people stood near it that you realise just how big it is. It dwarfs the little Airbuses and the 737s. Okay, so I'm deliberately not using head tracking because I want to be able to get to things in the cockpit quickly and easily. Okay, let's just stop at the first line here, put the parking brake on, and we'll run through the final things we're going to do. So, control 7, we're going to go and turn the strobes on and turn the landing lights on, and then we're going to go down to the pedestal, turn the transponder to TA mode, and takeoff is the next thing on our mind. So get ready. So we're going to roll out onto the runway. Obviously in the real world you'd now be talking to the tower, or they would be inviting you to line up. Still complaining about cabin temperature, isn't it? So obviously I'm not even scratching the surface of what Horizon have done. I'm just validating that the startup procedure still works and it still appears to. So that's good. Okay. Now we accelerate. It's complaining we haven't completed the checklists. That's absolutely fine. For the purposes of this demo it is. I'll do a video about the checklist soon. So rotate. It's not wanting to come up. And we're going way beyond the V speeds. Okay, so it could be down to the amount of flaps I'm using. Okay, so autopilot is on. Gear can come up. Flaps can come up. We've done things out of order there, I'm afraid. Everything's looking good. So I'm just keeping an eye on it to see how well it's following the track. It's climbing appropriately. It should come up to about 4,000. Let's have a look at the legs. So yeah, it goes up to 4,000 until it gets through the next few waypoints, and then it will climb to cruise altitude. So everything's working. We've still got an issue with the cabin temperature, so let's go and have a look, see what we've missed. And the directions aren't working very well, but recirculation is on, cabin temperatures in the middle, flight deck temperatures in the middle. So can we see that on the eCam system somehow? Yeah, it's over here, look. So are they just complaining it's a bit cold, maybe? Be interesting to see actually how quickly that gets affected. If we were to turn the temperature up for the cabin, let's turn it up all the way. Let's see how quickly it changes. Obviously it takes a few minutes for the temperatures to change, but it's an interesting one, isn't it? So this really comes back to your procedures when you're on the ground. Obviously normally you wouldn't rush through. The passengers would be coming into the aircraft and you would be warming it up. And we had a very short taxi as well. So again, normally you'd be taxiing and waiting in a queue, and you get a chance then as well to warm up the interior. Also, when you're sat on the APU, you would be monitoring the temperatures. It's an interesting one. But yeah, you can see it's going to take a while to make any difference to the aircraft. But anyway, the main takeaway is that it's working. The airplane's following the track perfectly. It's about to come through the next waypoint, and I think it will then start climbing for 25,000 feet, which is cool. So we can obviously go and put this to our cruise, which I think we put in as 250, didn't we? Yeah. Just coming through the waypoint, and the aircraft's accelerating and it's beginning the climb to altitude. So obviously the next steps would be, as we come through 6,000 feet, we switch to standard barometric pressure. So we'll just hang on for a few seconds. Cool, it can't have climb, can't it? So just coming up for 6,000. So standard. And then the next point will be 10,000 feet when the vertical navigation should remove the 250 knot limit automatically on the throttle, and we switch to, we turn off the landing lights. So we'll wait and see if that happens. It's all looking very, very good so far. Have those numbers come up at all? No, they haven't, and they're still complaining about the temperature in the cabin. It may be something I've done that maybe an improvement in the aircraft that I've not seen before. I guess we'll have to wait and see. This is my first look at this version of the 787, so it's unsurprising if I'm a little bit at sea with it to begin with. There we go, 10,000 feet. So landing lights off. The taxi light should have been off as well. And we're off to the races. So climbing out now to cruise altitude, we can go and turn. Oh, seatbelts are automatic. You heard the chime there. That was probably them switching off, I guess. Should we go and see if they've modelled the rest of the aeroplane? So it looks very good in the cabin, doesn't it? Oh, it's just got a lock. Is it working properly? So can we influence that? Apparently not. So maybe it isn't modelled. Can we go? We can't go through the wall either. If we look from outside, can we see inside? Yeah, I don't think it's modelled, which is a really good way of saving frame rate, to be honest. Yeah, it's got the 3D trick, so there is no interior. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I haven't looked at this at all yet. So it has this tablet now. So it's got pilot utilities, en route charts, terminal charts, documents. Does any of it work? Okay, the bits that are grey work. So if we go to performance, we get performance calculators. This is really cool, isn't it? And the grey bits work. Okay. Initialize flight. What does that do? We don't know. So that gives you your door controls. So I'm guessing at some point in the future this may have Navigraph integration, but for a start it's very good, isn't it? Yeah, we go. The cabin temperature warning has gone down. It's gone up a couple of degrees, look now. I'm presuming that's the temperatures in each area of the cabin. But yeah, I'll do a video at some point about going through the checklists, because it's fascinating. The amount of functionality that's in this aeroplane is, yeah, it's quite fascinating. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you were wondering where they are, they're in here. So you can work through and, you know, tick things off as you go. It's good, isn't it? You can pull the navigation display up here. Very clever. But then it takes it away from there. Very cool. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. And I'll see you again soon. So we've proven that the checklist works. I'll put a link in the description to the updated checklist, and I'll see you again soon. Hopefully we'll do a full flight with this aeroplane, and like I said, we'll have a look at how the checklist functionality works. Okay, see you soon. Take care.